Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel and join our community of collectors who know that real treasure isn't always locked in a vault. Sometimes it's hiding in plain sight, in a small piece of metal you may have overlooked for decades. Today, we are diving into a coin that many men between 55 and 65 may remember jingling in their pockets, resting in drawers, or tucked away in old toolboxes. A coin that might have passed through your hands without a second thought. The 20-cent 1971 coin from South Africa. At first glance, it may seem like just another piece of change. But to the trained eye, and especially to seasoned collectors who appreciate history and craftsmanship, this coin tells a powerful story. Think back to 1971, a time of strong values, hard work, discipline, and resilience. Many of you watching lived through that era. You remember the weight of responsibility, the pride of earning your way, and the importance of saving for the future. Coins from that time carry more than monetary value. They carry memory, identity, and legacy. The 20-cent coin minted in 1971 represents a period of economic structure, political tension, and industrial growth in the region. It was struck under the authority of the South African Reserve Bank, ensuring its authenticity and circulation across the nation. This coin was crafted with precision. The metal composition, the engraved details, the clean lettering, all of it reflects the minting standards of its time. When you hold one in your hand, you feel its solid presence. It's not lightweight or fragile. It feels purposeful, like it was made to last. And that's something many men of your generation understand deeply: durability, strength, and reliability. But what makes the 1971 20-cent coin stand out? Why are collectors increasingly paying attention to it? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, condition, and historical context. Not all 1971 coins are equal. Some were heavily circulated, scratched, worn down by years of daily transactions. Others, however, were preserved, stored away in collections, untouched by time. These uncirculated or near-perfect condition coins are where the real intrigue begins. Collectors examine every detail. The sharpness of the design, the clarity of the year marking, the absence of corrosion. Even slight variations in minting can dramatically influence desirability. For experienced collectors, it becomes almost like detective work. They look for subtle signs, small differences in alignment, unusual finishes, or limited production runs that weren't widely documented at the time. There's also a psychological aspect to collecting coins from the early 1970s. For many men in the 55 to 65 plus age range, this coin is not just metal. It's a connection to youth, to early careers, to first paychecks, to lessons learned about money and responsibility. Owning a pristine version of this coin can feel like reclaiming a piece of personal history. It's about legacy. It's about passing something tangible to children or grandchildren and saying, "This was part of my time." Now let's talk about scarcity. Over decades, countless coins are lost, melted down, damaged, or discarded. The passage of time naturally reduces supply. As the number of well-preserved 1971 20-cent coins decreases, demand among serious collectors quietly increases. And here's something many casual observers don't realize. Value often grows not when everyone is talking about a coin, but when only a small circle of informed collectors recognizes its significance. The market for vintage coins has matured. Today's collectors are not just hobbyists. Many are investors. They study trends, auction histories, and condition grading. A coin from 1971 that may have once been worth only its face value can, under the right circumstances, become highly sought after. Especially when it is graded at the highest levels of preservation. Imagine finding one in an old coin jar in your garage. Imagine opening a small envelope you stored away decades ago and discovering a 1971 20-cent coin in brilliant condition. The excitement isn't just about money. It's about discovery. It's about realizing that something ordinary could turn out to be extraordinary. Condition is everything. A coin that looks almost untouched, with sharp edges and clear detail, can stand apart from thousands of worn examples. Collectors pay premiums for excellence. And excellence in coin collecting means minimal wear, strong luster, and flawless surfaces. For many men watching, this may inspire you to take a closer look at your old collections. Those small boxes in drawers. the tins in the workshop, the envelopes tucked into filing cabinets. You may have dismissed them for years, but inside, there could be a piece of history waiting to be appreciated in a whole new way. There is also pride in knowledge, understanding what you hold, knowing the difference between a common circulated piece and a rare high-grade example, being able to explain its background, its era, its minting authority. That knowledge transforms ownership into expertise. The 1971 20-cent coin represents more than currency. It represents endurance. It represents a chapter of economic history. It represents a time when craftsmanship and authority stood firm. And for collectors who value heritage and strength, it stands as a symbol of resilience. Now, let's talk about what many of you have been waiting for, the potential value. While many circulated examples remain modest in worth, exceptionally preserved and rare condition 1971 20-cent coins have reached astonishing figures in the collector market. In certain rare and premium grade circumstances, this coin has been valued as high as $200,000.
Before we dive into today's incredible story, take a moment to hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Every week we uncover hidden treasures, forgotten coins, and the powerful stories behind them. Now, let's begin our journey into a coin that has left collectors speechless and historians amazed, the 1975 South African 20-cent coin. Now, you might think a 20-cent piece is just pocket change, something that jingles in your hand and disappears at the bottom of a drawer. But the truth is, every coin tells a story, and sometimes that story turns out to be worth millions. Literally millions. Picture the mid-1970s. South Africa was standing at a crossroads, a time of economic shifts, political tension, and quiet transformation. The year 1975, a year when coins were still struck with pride, with precision, and with a certain artistry that's rare today. These weren't just bits of metal, they were national symbols, small round messengers of identity and history. And in that year, the South African Mint produced a 20-cent coin that would, decades later, capture the imagination of collectors across the world. This coin, simple, copper-nickel in appearance, carried on one side the familiar portrait of Jan van Riebeeck, the Dutch colonial administrator whose face once defined the nation's currency. On the other side, a delicate design of the protea flower, South Africa's national emblem, gracefully spread its petals. At first glance, nothing unusual. Millions were made. People spent them every day on newspapers, on a loaf of bread, or maybe a cup of coffee at a roadside cafe, but here's where the story takes a turn. Somewhere between design and production, between history and happenstance, something rare happened. A small batch of these coins was struck differently, an experimental minting, some say, or perhaps an error run. The details are debated even today. The metal composition, the die alignment, even the finish, subtle differences that most eyes would never notice. But for the trained eye, the numismatist, the historian, those details are everything. For decades, these special 20-cent pieces sat unnoticed, passing from hand to hand, from pocket to pocket, until time buried them in collections, drawers, and forgotten jars of loose change. And then, as coin collectors began to dig deeper into the archives of the South African Mint, whispers started spreading. A rumor of an ultra-rare 1975 issue, a coin that shouldn't exist, but somehow did. That rumor grew. Coin hunters from around the world began to examine every 1975 piece they could find. Some found common coins. Others found slight variations, but one man, one determined collector, found something truly different. His discovery would become the stuff of legend. It was a quiet evening, as he sorted through his late father's coin collection, dusty albums stacked high in an old wooden cabinet. Among the silver and bronze glimmers, a modest 20-cent coin caught his attention. The luster was unusual. The metal seemed almost too bright, the edges too clean. And when he compared it to another from the same year, the difference was clear. This coin wasn't like the rest. After months of verification, expert analysis, and authentication, the truth emerged. This was one of only a handful of 1975 20-cent coins ever produced in that unique strike. Some call it a proof pattern issue, others an experimental die trial, but whatever its origin, it became one of the rarest coins ever to come out of South Africa. The discovery sent ripples through the coin world. Collectors, investors, and museums all wanted to see it. Coin fairs buzzed with speculation. Experts argued over its true rarity, its historical context, and, of course, its value. And that's when the story began to climb beyond history, into legend, because you see, value in coins isn't just about metal. It's about mystery, rarity, and the emotional pull of history. It's about holding something that connects you directly to another time, another generation. For many men who lived through those years, 1975 wasn't just a date, it was a memory. A time of change, of youth, of working hard and building futures. Owning a piece of that time, especially one that shouldn't even exist, feels like owning a secret chapter of history. Collectors began to bid higher and higher whenever one of these pieces surfaced. First a few $1,000s, then tens of thousands. Each sale drew more attention, each discovery fed more excitement. And when one pristine, uncirculated specimen finally went under the hammer, in a private sale that stunned even the most seasoned collectors, the final price reached a number that no one thought possible: $12 million. Yes, you heard that right. A 20-cent coin, once worth less than the price of a cup of tea, sold for $12 million. And now, some might ask, how can that be? How can something so small, so ordinary, hold such extraordinary value? But that's the beauty of numismatics, the study and love of coins. Value isn't just measured in metal, it's measured in meaning. The story, the rarity, the craftsmanship, and the deep emotional connection between past and present, that's what collectors pay for. Imagine the feeling of holding that coin in your hand. It's not heavy, yet it carries the weight of an era. Every detail etched into its surface tells a story of a nation, of change, of craftsmanship, and of the quiet possibility that greatness can hide in the most unexpected places. And maybe, just maybe, it makes you wonder what treasures might be sitting in your own collection, waiting to be rediscovered. That jar of coins you haven't touched in years, that little box from your father or grandfather, perhaps it holds something rare, something that connects you to a piece of history. So next time you come across an old coin, don't just glance and move on. Take a closer look. Because sometimes, the smallest pieces tell the biggest stories. And remember, the 1975 South African 20-cent coin, once an everyday piece of change, now stands as one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever to leave the mint. Its legacy isn't just in its metal, but in the mystery and magic that surrounds it. A coin once worth 20 cents, today valued at a breathtaking $12 million. So if you haven't yet, subscribe now, because stories like this, they're just the beginning. There are more hidden treasures, more untold tales, and more incredible discoveries waiting to be uncovered. Stay curious, keep collecting, and never underestimate the power of history in the palm of your hand.